Oh, he's simplifying.
Oh, this is just vintage Magnus. This is so vintage Magnus.
Yes, this is not only a vintage bottle from 2022 Speed Chess Championship, but also a vintage game. Queen Sacrifice on the way with the Noir grapes. It's Magnum Carlsen, the world chess champion at the time, and playing with the Blanc grapes. It's the one and only current world champion, Gukesh D, and he opens with his Horsenet Cabernet Blanc. I think I messed that up, but do help me out with some great puns in the comments. We're going to dive in on some cheese right now. It pairs great with a nice bottle. This is online chess, clock times on the left, and this is a great one. Knight f6 on the board. Gukesh builds the banana hammock here, and after this orangutan in reverse, outlandish pawn push, we see these bishops start a big game of chicken down the diagonal. Gukesh castles the king, safe, move 4, look at his coach, proud as punch, what a guy. Now Magnus pushes this one, he's so impressed by Gukesh's setup, and both of his bishops crossing swords now like bloodthirsty pirates. E4 starts the King's Indian attack, D6 from Magnus, and now the best move here, when you run it with the Stockness monster, is the knight going to the side of the board, because if the pawn pushes, it can come to C4. But Gukesh does knight to C3 PO, goads this pawn on before it can be captured, and now he has to drop back here. Big space gained by Magnus. He now castles, and order of the day is A3, C3. You can really see here how Gukesh is slightly off the pace. He starts with H3 on this side of the board, gives the king some Lufthansa. Magnus gains huge amounts of space. G4 looks nice to push P, makes some space for the knight as we'll see, but it's quite slow. Should you really be playing there or here? And now Magnus sets up the Connect 4, and he wins himself a brand new BMX. I mean, look at him go, trying out the pedals, cycling away there, and he doesn't even need the stabilizers or training wheels, whatever you might call them. What a cyclist. We now see knight G3. Where's it really headed? Magnus spawns a seahorse, and A3 again, order of the day. You know you're in trouble when you start playing mysterious rook moves. Shaw comes off the long diagonal. Shaw, after Magnus forgets which way to move his horsey, you can now go bishop E3 and the pawn is covered, but it's very, very slow. Magnus is gaining space now. He's currently, by the way, 8-1 up in the match. I mean, it's an absolute trouncing. And now you do have to play A3. Good move, because you stop black from creating Swiss cheese on all the dark squares had you allowed A3 to come by the black player. And of course, bishop now attacked. What does Magnus do? He only goes and spots it, saves it, world champion at the time. And C4 is absolutely the best move from white, because you shut down a lot of black ideas. Yes, you give a square, but it should be played. Instead, Queen D2 creates the battery, but Magnus achieves this explosive C4 move, and after Rook FD1 coming off the bishop's X-ray, supporting this bishop to nudge back, we now see takes, pawn recaptures, and this really is just masterful chess. I mean, Magnus's time, right, 2 minutes 28, spends about 10 seconds here and goes knight C to E5, but it's just superb feel, understanding, intuition, because after takes, natural, knight recaptures, F4 is on the way, and how are you dealing with that, right? Now actually you should play F4 immediately. It isn't played here. Gukesh sidesteps with the queen, very understandable, so that the rook defends the pawn. You know, the knight can't capture. But the reason this should have been played is that after black captures, now this bishop attacks it, it's about to drop off the board. You know, where's it headed? C5 is not ideal, you can chop. White gets some good stuff down here and tactics here. So you have to actually go here. And after this exchange, black giving up 2 minors for a rook. It's a roughly level game apparently. Even though the 2 minors are usually better, this knight's a bit dodgy. Okay, it was the way to go. But the immediate F4 not played. Queen e2 as mentioned. Now f4 is prepared, and of course the pawn is covered. So Magnus goes rook b8, he's blitzing this stuff, does it in a second, 2 seconds. And now if you go f4, of course black can take here. Rook recaptures, then you crash through. So that's why first we see takes, not the best as you can see. Queen c2 preferred, but who's playing that after you've just gone queen e2? And after queen recaptures, f4, we've reached this crunch moment. Now how would you be playing here, right? Your knight's under fire, pawn's covered twice of course, unless you want to give 2 minors for a rook. But is that good? Normally not, right? Maybe you backpedal. But what does Magnus do? In a flash, bang, takes on d3, 4-5 seconds burnt. They get a second back per move. That's called excrement. And the point is, after rook recaptures, you're in this kind of eternal pin. It's just unbelievable calculation. And you might think the follow-up is this, queen b1 check, instantly win back the piece, but no, rook d1 comes, and if you take here, white takes here, doing great. Not the way to go. Instead, the follow-up move, a silent killer, rook c8. Beautiful, because rook c3 is threatened. There's this huge pin. Of course, you can't come here to break the pin. What if you go queen d2? Cover this square a little bit, but break the pin more importantly. Well, then there's this check. And now you've got no rook d1. Queen d1, but then of course you can take this rook. No good. Just amazing combinations. So bishop d2 covers the square, but now Magnus goes check. You can't take with the rook, or queen e drops off the board. So the king comes to h2, and now the queen hits b1. Huge threats. Number 1, to win the rook. It's now attacked twice, defended once. Number 2, even more bamboozling. Let's just show some absolute rubbish. Wait, what? I thought this was checkmate. No, it's not. I've just ruined the checkmate because the king can step up. So that wasn't rubbish. Let me show a different kind of rubbish. That one. Now we get the checkmate. I can demonstrate the theme. Okay, so mate is threatened, rook threatened. Bishop f1 deals with both issues, of course. Excuse me. But now the last piece joins the attack for black. Rook c2. Magnus squeezing every last drop out of his pieces here. And the threat it sets up, let's use the same null move, is bishop takes, queen takes, and queen d1. New kind of pin. You can't move the bishop. Say you take here, takes with check. This is the problem. What to play, bishop or something, win a queen. Or maybe you take first, let's say, queen takes. This is of course a lost position, especially when this starts running, right? So we come back. The move in the game played was queen g2, opens the bishop on the defense, but Magnus now cashes in, and it's a really nice combo. You could go queen b2 to defend this one here, keep the pressure down here and everything, but instead we get takes on d3. Looks like a terrible move that blows all your advantage because bishop takes, you're in that fork or skewer, pin, whatever. Queen comes here, then bishop takes. This is terrible. White's now winning, but this is the point. After the bishop hits d3, what does Magnus do to follow up? Can you find this winning move here? Now, no worries if you can't actually find it. Just leave us an apology down below or something. Let us know why your puzzles aren't on point. Maybe you need to get on some more puzzle rush, but don't feel too bad on yourself. The move to play, pat on the back if you found it. Queen g1 check.
Oh, he's simplifying.
This is just vintage Magnus. This is so vintage Magnus.
Absolute thunderbolt, beautiful stuff, because after queen takes played, bishop takes, king takes, you take here and you hit the bishop, which saves itself. And here's the amazing thing. Normally 2 minors better than the rook, right? But in this position, the knight's so offside, king's so far away, and you can't take this pawn. This is the sting at the end of the
mushrooms.
Rook takes on a3, hits 2 minor pieces, and that actually would end the game. One of them is dropping off, simple end game to win. So the pawn not captured, this knight spins into the game, rook takes a3, king f2, rook a2 pins, king e3 unpins, and after a3, Gukesh resigns the game here. Anita's running, as Danny called it in commentary, and say you go knight c3, there's rook c2. You're of course threatening to win with check, so king d3 of course, but then what? bang, pawn pushes, and you have to give up. No time to take the rook, or queen is made. So there's this, and it's a lost endgame. And it's the same thing if you go with the bishop instead of the knight, but you do this, and this, and this, and again it's running, running, running. You just can't stop it. You're going to win a minor piece. Incredible by Magnus. He went 9-1 up in the match and generally went on to just storm this quarterfinal a couple years back now. Hope you enjoyed. Do smash subscribe if you did. Never miss a future video, and have a look at the one on screen for another epic game of chess. Cheers.